Hi friends, this is JoyB from Ask JoyB. So basically, we are going to feature a question today, which is what are the new features in Windows Server 2012 R2. So there are so many features which we can really talk about because Windows Server 2012 R2 is coming with lots of features. So I just want to feature at least 10 to 12 features which I would like to share with you, and they are interesting and as well as good feature which you can implement in your organization. Okay, so starting with work folder. So work folder bring functionality of Dropbox to corporate servers. Install role on Windows Server 2012 R2 system, and you get the fully functional secure file replication service. This initially support Windows 8.1 client, but support for Windows 7 and iPad devices is promised for future, with Android client future down the list. Like Dropbox, work folder will keep copy of file on both server and client, performing the sync operation whenever the client establish a connection with the server. So I really liked about the storage enhancement in Windows Server 2012 R2, and one of the topic which I want to pick up from there, that is storage tiering. So this might be the single most exciting new feature in Windows Server 2012 R2. In essence, the storage tiering is ability to dynamically move the chunks of stored data between the class of storage such as SSD or slower hard drive. Many high-end storage systems had automated tiering for the years, but this is the first time you are able to do it from the operating system level. So Microsoft uses the heat-up algorithm to determine which chunks of the data are seeing most activity and automatically moves the hottest chunk into the faster tier, which is SSD, right? So you can adjust the setting for how and when the data move using PowerShell. So next topic which I want to pick, that is again related to storage, and that is storage pinning. So closely related to storage tiering is ability to pin the selected files to a specific tier. Here we are talking about tier like SSD or slower hard drive, which we have as traditional disks. So pinning make it possible to ensure the file you always want to on the fastest storage, such as boot disk in the virtual desktop infrastructure deployment will never move to a slower tier. Otherwise, the file that you always want to take the advantage of SSD might be moved to a HDD tier after some period of relative inactivity. So that means is if you want to put database files and you specify that should be go to SSD, so that means we are doing a storage pinning. So it doesn't matter that that particular file is not being used for some time, that will not automatically move to a slower tier of SSD. Okay, next one is write back cache. When you create a new storage volume in Windows Server 2012 R2, you also have the option to enable something called write back cache. So this feature set aside an amount of physical storage, typically on fast SSD, to use the write cache to help smooth of input and output I/O during the write intense operations. So this can be seen in typical database scenarios where the large volume of disk write may exceed the ability of drive controller and disk to keep it up. So the cache would eliminate any pause caused by the overwhelmed storage subsystems. Okay, next one is deduplication on running VMs. So data deduplication in Windows Server 2012 is nice feature, but one thing it cannot do is deduplication of running virtual machine. That limitation is removed in Windows Server 2012 R2 specifically for VDI. VDI deployment on SMB 3.0. So that said, newly capability could be greatly increased overall effectiveness of deduplication for VDI implementation. As a side benefit, deduplication greatly improves boot performance of virtual desktop. In addition to the storage VMs on SMB 3.0, so Microsoft highly recommend using scale-out file server in Windows Server 2012. So scale-out file server is another new feature in Windows Server 2012, which is specifically uses the cluster shared volumes, and which the cluster shared volume is again volume which has been mapped in each and every node at the same time, and they can do the read write operation on cluster shared volume. So this is giving you a position on which you can put those things in top of high availability as well. Okay, the next one is parallel rebuild. So if you ever have a hard disk fail in a RAID array, so you know that disk rebuild can take many hours. So and with more and more deployment of large physical disk, the amount of time required to rebuild a drive will get longer. So Microsoft addresses this particular issue of lengthy check disk checks in Windows Server 2012, which greatly reduce the time to scan and repair the single disk. Windows Server 2012 R2 add ability to perform a parallel rebuild of a failed storage space drive, reducing the amount of time required by an order of magnitude. So if you see this particular image which I picked from TechEd, so it is just showing up, it is rebuilding of 3 TB of disk less than an hour. Okay, next one is Windows Server Essential Role. While this might not sounds like a big deal, it has a potential to make life much easier for any organization with geographical distributed network. With Server 2012, you have to use a completely different installation source for Windows Server Essential. For large organization, this can impact both distribution strategy and configuration management. The Windows Server Essential Role in Windows Server 2012 R2 brings with a number of other features, including branch cache, DFS namespace, and remote server administration tools that are typically implemented in remote office settings. Windows Server 2012 R2 Hyper-V highlights. There are so many things which need to be talked about, but I will really try to pick very less about it. Okay, so the next version of Hyper-V brings the learner and cleaner, so generation 2 VMs, improvement to the Hyper-V replica, faster live migration, online VM export and cloning, and lots more. So we will take out a different section and a session for this. Okay. So this is it for this particular session. So we have covered so many new features of Windows Server 2012 R2. So hope this session is informative. And what you need to do is, if you have any question in your mind, you just need to go to Twitter and send a message to us and @AIKID support and drop a message. Or you can go to our website and go to the contact page and send us quick information or a question, whichever you have in your mind, and do subscribe my channel, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you.